to the Dickson City Civic Center, where we're going to hold our public hearing this evening. This public hearing has been continued from December 9th, 2025 and January 20th of 2026 regarding the proposed ordinances for the zoning of data centers. I'd like to go over a few rules for tonight's public hearing. First, we're all taxpayers, elected officials here to gather information regarding the proposed data centers ordinances and proposed data center ordinances. Therefore, we ask everyone to please be attentive and listen to all the information being presented here this evening. Please hold proper decorum and do not yell out during any presentation or while someone else is speaking. We hope to allow everyone the opportunity to speak at the podium, ask your questions, or make your comments. Does not mean that you will necessarily get a response, but you may ask that. And when you are coming up to the podium, you will be given a 5-minute time limit and one time only to the podium so we can get through this evening. For anyone wishing to speak, again, you'll go to the podium and you will announce your name and spell your name, because we do have a stenographer here this evening who will be taking that down. If at 7 o'clock we're still not finished with the public hearing, we will then adjourn into our special meeting and then come back to the public hearing. At this time, I need to turn over the public hearing to Attorney William Jones.
Good evening. I know that our chairman has brought to everyone's attention that we've had several hearings. This evening, we're here for data centers, just by way of clarity, that they are manufacturing use and they are in our M1 area. This also adds certain other criteria to that particular use as a special exception. We are not here approving any particular plan whatsoever for this particular zone. This just adds the standards to an already existing manufacturing use. We have that particular ordinance that went through several notifications. It was published in the Scranton Times on January 29th, as well as on January 4th. Prior publications appeared for the January 20th hearing on December 11th, and December 26th, and January 2nd. And notice of the original hearing was also placed in the Scranton Times. We also had the notices posted. Our borough manager did that. It was for this particular hearing, and public meeting was posted in the Dickson City Borough Building, 901 Enterprise Street, Dickson City, PA. It was also posted at the Dickson City Civic Center, 935 Albert Street, Dickson City, PA. The manager also posted on the same date, February 4th, at all points deemed sufficient in the M1 district. Additionally, it appeared in our Facebook page. We've also complied with the open meeting law. We've timely complied with that by having it on our website. The meeting agenda was posted for 7 p.m. this evening. That would be our public meeting. And that was noticed in both the Dickson City Civic Center. You can go out and see it's posted on the front door now, together with a copy of the agenda itself. And it also down at the Borough Building, which directed persons to this particular facility with the address. So at this time, I'll turn it back to the chair. This is a public hearing. It's different than a zoning board hearing. This has as its intent, like the other ones, that it receives comments from the public before the council votes on a piece of legislation. It's not where people call witnesses, there's cross-examination. It's not that kind of hearing. In fact, you're not even required to have a stenographic record, although we do have one this evening. So it's that the public is allowed to have comment on this particular ordinance for the M1 area, which I know a lot of you, I can see the faces that you have attended this before. It has in other pertinent sections, section 5.1012, the term data center. It's rather comprehensive that went through, and that was from different comments that we had received from Lackawanna County Planning Commission. For those of you that have participated through this particular series, you'll see where that definition was expounded upon, and that came from Lackawanna County that we have it. Additionally, it has other particular sections and standards. So that is what we are looking for this evening on that particular ordinance with its standards. So I'll turn that back to you.
Thank you, Attorney Jones. Before we get started this evening, we have a little bit of an order of how we're going to bring some people up to the podium. I've been asked by Mr. DiBileo, County Controller, if he could speak first before we get started on some of the other things, because he has a prior commitment this evening. And he'll be followed by Mr. Bill Gaughan from the County Commissioner's Office. Mr. DiBileo.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Dickson City Borough, and all attendees. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Gary DiBileo, Lackawanna County Controller. Just a few months ago, the idea of data centers sounded like an opportunity involving the new technology age of artificial intelligence was an innovation that we here in Pennsylvania and Lackawanna County should jump on before we miss out and they end up being built elsewhere. They came at us like a freight train being pitched to statewide elected officials as a golden ticket to the future. Honestly, I could see why many jumped on the bandwagon of AI as the largest companies in the world, owned by billionaires, were dangling a carrot to us. Who would think that high-tech computer warehouses would be anything besides a boom for us here in northeastern Pennsylvania? Little did we know, the new AI innovation entrepreneurs were looking to invade us for giant plots of land to plop down giant water-sucking, energy-draining, noise-making, environmentally damaging monstrosities that could harm anyone or anything in their shadows in order to cool down computer chips to make them more billions. However, now that the dust has started to settle, I should say, and we have come to learn of the potential harm that data centers can do to our bodies, our environment, our quality of life, and our property values, I ask statewide officials and you and all elected officials to put the brakes on this runaway freight train as much as you possibly can. The Amazons, Googles, Facebooks, and Microsofts of the world know there is a need for speed before our zoning laws can change and could be adopted before they rev up their generators. We know how fast technology changes. Right now, Elon Musk is developing data centers that will operate in space. I know that sounds crazy. Last week, the Federal Communications Commission Bureau approved Elon Musk's application for orbital data centers. So by the time the data centers that they want to build here could be built, they could possibly be obsolete. Cooling computer chips will not be harmful to us humans on Earth up there. This is supposed to happen in 2 to 3 years. Look it up. Where will that leave us? Lackawanna County could end up littered with empty, massive, frightening eyesores, as many that would fill the entire town of Mayfield. I understand that it is difficult to stop them completely, but by putting the brakes on, we can wrap our arms around this invasion. I asked the state to place a 2-year moratorium on construction for all data centers. I'm not alone. We all need to push for this 2-year timeout. That way, we can look at this on our terms and not the billionaires' terms. I'm president of the Kaiser Valley section of Scranton Neighborhood Association, and we are opposing a data center right in Ransom Township bordering my neighborhood. But any data center in Lackawanna County is in the backyard of all of us. Is anyone here tonight in favor of data centers? No. Is anyone against? Yes. I thought so. In closing, I just want to say that I appreciate Jeff allowing me to speak. Today happens to be my birthday. My wife wants to take me out, so I got to take advantage of that, right? But I want to thank my Facebook friends and followers. I want them to know that I'm currently unable to log into Facebook. This is on a personal note. So I'm not able to say thank you for all the birthday best wishes I may be receiving. But I'll probably get a lot of happy birthday wishes, and I'd like to respond to each of them right now and say thank you. And thank you, Dickson City Borough. I appreciate it. Oh, by the way, I brought a box of no data center signs. They're right there on the table. They're free to anyone who wants them. So help yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gaughan?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Gaughan, and I am a Lackawanna County Commissioner. I'm here this evening to give my opinion on what is happening with data centers, because whether it's here in Dickson City or in Archibald or in Jessup, it will have an effect on the entire county. I'm not here to tell you what to do in any way as fellow elected officials, but I'm here to stand beside the people of this valley and county who have shown up in numbers that cannot be ignored over the last year. You are the ones that are entrusted with these decisions. You are the ones who must weigh testimony, sift fact from fiction, and carry the weight of consequence long after tonight's meetings. I know the pressure that you are under. I know you're doing your best to navigate something new, something massive, and something that will shape this borough in our county for generations. Hundreds and hundreds of residents from Archibald, Jessup, Einan, Peckville, Blakely, Oliphant, Covington, and beyond filled auditoriums, lined hallways, and stood shoulder to shoulder because they feel deep in their heart that something profound is at stake, and it is. This is not ordinary development. This is not a warehouse. This is not a strip mall. This is not a small industrial park. This is dozens and dozens and dozens of data centers, thousands of acres of our land. And we are told, and I have been told as a commissioner, that this is progress. But the question is progress for whom and at what cost? I don't want to look back in 10 years and realize that we became the Silicon Valley of Pennsylvania, not because we built innovation, but because we turned every available acre into a windowless box that hums 24/7 and sends most of its profits somewhere else. I attended the data center hearing. last night in Archibald, and I came away from that meeting after 2.5 to 3 hours, feeling like we may be building the future for everyone except the people who actually live here. We're in danger of becoming a county where the cloud is thriving, but our neighborhoods are drying up, where the servers are cool, but the people are boiling over. This region has known sacrifice before. We powered America. We mined its coal. We built its railroads. We forged its steel. And in return, we were left with its calm banks, flooded mines, poisoned streams, and communities that had to rebuild themselves over and over again. We have already carried more than our share. In Dunmore, we have a landfill that, if allowed to grow to its permitted height, will one day be as tall as the Empire State Building. We have another landfill in Taylor. We have a power plant in Jessup. We have given land, we have given air, we have given water. How much more must this valley take? And now we are told that we must give our land again to power data centers that will consume extraordinary amounts of electricity, millions of gallons of water. One data center in Archibald professes to use 3 million gallons of water a day, and that water will come out of Lake Scranton. And reshape our landscape not for homes, not for families, not for children, but for machines. Data centers promise tax revenue. They promise construction jobs. They promise high-tech paying jobs. But we are not Loudoun County, Virginia. We are not Northern Virginia with its dense federal infrastructure and global internet backbone. Our economics are different. Our tax base is different. Our workforce reality is different. And the permanent jobs that they say will be in these facilities, they are few. The power demands, enormous. The water consumption, significant. The noise, constant. The environmental footprint, lasting. And what do we need desperately now in Lackawanna County? Not data centers. We need affordable housing. Young families cannot find starter homes. Seniors cannot downsize. Teachers, police officers, nurses, the backbone of our communities, struggle to find housing that they can actually afford. If we are going to carve up hundreds and hundreds, thousands of acres of developable land, should it not be for homes, for neighborhoods, for opportunity that keeps families here? We cannot say on one hand that we are desperate for housing, and then on the other hand, dedicate vast tracts of land to windowless warehouses of computer servers that send most of their profits to fat cat billionaires on the West Coast. We cannot say that we value our children's future and then treat our land as expendable. This is not anti-technology, it's not anti-innovation, and it's not anti-progress. Technology, as we all know, has brought extraordinary advancement. It connects us, it educates us, and it empowers us. But technology must serve humanity, not displace it. Just look at all of the reports of all of the jobs that will be taken from the middle class if these people have their way over the next 10 to 20 years with artificial intelligence. In the coming days, I will be sending a formal letter to Governor Josh Shapiro requesting a 2-year statewide moratorium on large-scale data center development. Not to shut down innovation, but to study, to understand, to evaluate cumulative impacts on energy grids, water systems, tax policy, land use, and local infrastructure. To investigate the fact that some data center developers are asking local officials to sign non-disclosure agreements in order to conceal the details of projects from public review. This practice should be prohibited in the state of Pennsylvania. There are several bills now in the state legislature that are being bandied about. We're putting the cart before the horse here in Lackawanna County. We need guardrails on this industry. We cannot, and I sat through the meeting in Archibald last night, with all due respect to the data center developers, we cannot trust these people to come in here and listen to them say, don't worry, everything will be okay, when there's no guardrails on this industry yet. Other states throughout the entire country are grappling with these same issues, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Kentucky, whether it's Maryland. Legislatures across the country are debating how to slow this rush until proper guardrails are in place. We owe it to our residents to pause before we permanently alter the character of our region. Because once the mountains are cut, they are cut. Once the grid is committed, it is committed. Once the precedent is set, it is set. This valley has always been strong. It was built by immigrants who arrived with little more than faith and grit. It survived the collapse of coal. It survived floods. It survived economic downturns. It survived being written off more than once. We are not, in Lackawanna County, a sacrifice zone, although I think some of these developers think we are. A sacrifice zone is a place deemed politically weak enough, economically hungry enough, or geographically convenient enough to bear burdens others would never accept in their own backyards. We are not that. We are communities. We are families. We are the stewards of land entrusted to us by those who came before and those who will come after. This is one of those moments. This is one of those tests. Whether we are simply managers of the land or guardians of it, whether we will accept being told this is inevitable, it's the future, as I heard last night in Archibald, don't we all use Google? Or will we insist that nothing is inevitable when a united community like the one that's here tonight stands up? The people have shown up. They have spoken. Let's listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gaughan.
If we can, I know in the beginning we're trying to hold it to 5 minutes. That's just advisory. Obviously, if you have something to say, we have all night, so you will be afforded ample opportunity to speak to the length of your opinions. Thank you.
At this time, we'll turn it over to our borough planner, Mr. Tom Shepstone, who will go over the ordinance proposal.
Okay,
Could you hit the button there, Mr. Shepstone, hold that in? There you go.
there we go. How's that? Okay, this is a 5-page ordinance, and that's what the hearing is about tonight, is the ordinance, not any one project.
Can't hear him. Somebody's gonna turn his mic up.
Should be on.
Yeah, it's on. It says bring it close.
Okay, I'll bring it up close. There you go. So it's about the ordinance that we're considering here, and I say we, it's the Borough Council will make the final decision. A number of people were involved in preparing this ordinance. We assembled it and put it in one document. We assembled it, put it in one document, which you can have access to. 3 pages of the 5 are the what I call the guts of the ordinance, where we try to set some of the standards that would apply. Bearing in mind that a data center is a use, and we have to provide, in the borough, we have to provide somewhere for every type of use. So what we've done, come up with here is an ordinance that we think is practical and defensible. And it may not please some of the developers, but it's something we feel is going to accomplish the objectives of the Borough Council, which are to protect the interests of the community. The definition, as Bill talked about earlier, is very extensive. There's also a definition of data center accessory uses, which include all the things that go along with the data center itself. And I would point out that the definition does not include somebody who's just running a server operation or something of that nature. It does include things like a cryptocurrency operation. Those are much smaller than some of the data centers we hear about today. They can be bigger too, but the definition is very all-encompassing, and it's designed to cover every type of operation that might happen in the borough. We also provide that this use, the data center use, would only be allowed as a special exception in the M1, which is the manufacturing zone. As a special exception, that already imposes several requirements of the ordinance in general, applies to any special exception. So there would have to be, if someone came forward with a proposal in the M1 zone, it would be considered as a special exception. It would be subject to a hearing by the zoning hearing board, and those criteria that apply to all special exceptions would have to be met in addition to what's here. We also provide some specific standards regarding, for example, the access, making sure that there's access to primary and collector streets. We want to make sure there's enough land area. It's my opinion that the M1 does provide enough land area. It may not be as much as some people might want, but it's enough, in my opinion. We also provide that where there's water cooling involved, and that's not necessarily always the case, by the way, but where it is the case, that they would have to be using a municipal water service and document their availability, the availability of the water that they might need. We also provide for screening to reduce noise levels, and we establish the criteria for that screening. We provide for a main entrance feature of the building, and also changes in the facade so that there are either real windows or what we call fake windows, I guess, and fenestrations, which would make the building not quite as ugly as it might otherwise be. We also provide a limit on the number of floors or stories. It would be 4 stories, a height of 60 feet, which is a pretty strict standard, by the way. We set the maximum impervious surface coverage to 75%, which is lower than a lot of ordinances that cover this activity. I think I said 75. It's actually 75 for impervious. Unless they go with a special exception, then they get another 5. All data centers have to provide evidence of coordination with the fire company. This is perhaps the most important thing of all, is making sure the ability to deal with any emergency, any fire situation, that is completely coordinated with the fire department. And a plan for decommissioning of any infrastructure, for example, energy supply systems. If there's a proposal to provide their own energy with a small power plant of some sort, that sort of thing would have to be decommissioned through a process that we provide for some other uses. And then we have where it's close to a residential area, that there's a particular setback, 200 feet in most cases. And we also provide that they have to meet the noise standards of the Dickson City zoning ordinance, which are pretty detailed and I think would adequately cover the issue. We provide for parking, limiting that. We don't want extensive big parking lots that are going to be impervious surfaces and generate a lot of stormwater. We also add the use to the list of permitted uses in the M1 zone, but again, as a special exception. So when you take this recommended ordinance amendment, and it is a zoning ordinance amendment, and tie it together and combine it with the other standards that already exist in the ordinance for noise and for special exceptions, we believe it provides a decent amount of protection. Is it perfect? No, of course not. Nothing is ever perfect. But we have to provide for something somewhere, and we believe that this putting it in the M1 zone is an appropriate place by the virtue of the nature of that district, and we also believe there's enough land there to do a data center. Not necessarily the data centers that have been proposed, but a data center. So with that, I think that concludes it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shepso. At this time, we have 2 attorneys in the audience, Mr. May, Mr. Rinaldi. Would either one of you like to make any comments at this time?
No comments other than the ones that we've made already.
Thank you very much. We'll now open it up for public. Anyone who would like to speak, please come to the podium. State your name, please. Spell it for the stenographer, please, as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Name, Timothy Pfleiderer, PFL, EID, E-R-E-R. I was at the January meeting, and the one thing I am concerned about is the noise. I am the person that currently the data center overlay for the ROS area goes right up to my property line. So I'm concerned about the noise a little bit. Now, I'm a little unique. I am not a sound engineer. I will state that right now. But my past experiences and my education has led me into studying sound. I am a licensed electrician, and I'll get into how that is affected by this here shortly. And also, I am a authorized OSHA outreach trainer. I am able to teach general industry construction safety training. I also teach for the Mid-Atlantic OSHA Educational Center in Baltimore. I've taught for the Northampton Educational Center, and I've been hired as a consultant for federal OSHA Educational Center in the outskirts of Chicago to basically review their training, their safety training on the electrical aspect. I have been hired by the Navy, the Army, FEMA, U.S. Capitol Engineering, and CIA headquarters in Langley to do safety training. So I've had a little bit of experience. OSHA's, one of their things that they train on is sound and decibels. So I've taken a little bit of time, according to Mr. Rinaldi's and Mr. Mays' professional witness in January 15th, at 2 hours and 4 minutes into that meeting, she stated that the decibels that will be put out from these data centers, 100 feet or more, is 60 decibels. Then she also stated that those sounds would be coming from the transformers, the generators, the heating and cooling systems. What those sounds are, what we refer to in the electrical world, is 60 hertz hum. Our electrical system runs on 60 cycles per second. As it gets into the coils of these transformers and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, and exhaust fans, motors, etc., it creates a 60 hertz hum. That hum is what you're going to hear 24/7, 365 days a year. Now, I have a little bit of statistics on this that I've done my research and study. A constant 60 hertz hum at 60 decibels, which is what she stated that we would have, is considered a form of low-frequency noise and an environmental noise pollution. It is high enough to cause significant psychological, physiological, cognitive distress, especially with long-term continuous exposure. 24/7, 365 days a year. Now, the characteristics of the 60 hertz hum. Penetration, the 60 hertz is a low-frequency hum from the transformers, etc. Such sound travels easily through walls, and because they are constant, the human brain had trouble filtering them out. Now, although the 60 hertz decibel is equivalent to an office hum, the buzzing quality makes it more noticeable and bothersome than white noise of the office. Now, what we got to realize, it states here that it can go through walls and windows. They are proposing an overlay of the data centers on that ROS property, which is right above Wegmans. You also have Walmart. You got restaurants on Route 6. Who's going to want to come to our community and sit at a restaurant and listen to this while they're eating? Who's going to want to go to Wegmans since it penetrates the walls and the windows? How are you going to concentrate while you're shopping? Who's going to want to go to Walmart? That will turn this community into a ghost town. Because they can go to other communities where they're not listening to this 24/7. Not to mention our residents listening to this. Because we can't even go in the house and get away from it because it penetrates the walls and the windows. It's not something we want to live with. So we're going to start leaving this community. I talked to several residents up on Bell Mountain this last week. We have plans of leaving this community if these data centers go in. I have been looking for property to leave this community. I don't want to do that. This has been my home for the last 13 years. It's not something I want to deal with. And because I have the closest house to the data centers, it's going to be real loud in my house. Now, the other proposal before I leave, and I do have a copy of this report that I'll submit to the stenographer or whatever. The other thing I want to look at and propose with that data center overlay up on the POS, there is currently 453.45 acres that is ROS up on that mountain. There is one land lot, 114.42 acres, that is bordering my property in the residential area up there on Bell Mountain. I would recommend that if that proposal goes through for that data center overlay for that ROS area, that 114.42 acres be taken out of it, which would give us somewhat of a buffer of trees and things like that to block a little bit more of that noise. Now, one last thing, and then I will leave. Noise. I don't know how many of you have ever seen the old Alpine horns, the 12-foot horns that they used in Switzerland and Austria. What they found out in the 17th and 18th century is that they blew those horns from the top of the mountains. Why did they blow them from the top of the mountains? Because it's a low resonance sound, and when they're at the top of the mountain, the valleys down below for miles and miles and miles could hear it. And they could warn of danger, warn or ask for help, and warn of clear. Where are we looking to put these data centers at this 60 hertz hum? The highest point in Dickson City. You're going to hear it down in the valleys, and not only in Dickson City, but Peckville, Blakely, Scott Township. We're going to destroy this valley if we allow that noise up on the mountain. And last thing, on the ordinances, the two ordinances that right now are proposed. The M1, you're looking at a 5-acre minimum size for the data centers. Up in Bell Mountain, you're asking for 50 acres. Is not that ordinance for the M1 setting precedents of 5 acres per data center? So on the mountain currently, with that 453 acres, they'd be able to put 8 data centers. But if they took Dickson City to court and showed the precedents down in M1 of 5 acres, you're putting 80 data centers up on that mountain. Something for us all to think about. And I'm not a lawyer. We need to consult the lawyer on that. But we're setting precedents down on the M1 of 5 acre lots. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
All right. Good evening, Council. My name is Tina. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just for point of clarity, what we're here for tonight is down in the M1 area. The M1 area is at the floor of the valley in our borough. It's down near the, I'll say down near the Giant Market, and then rolls along the river area. What we're here for, we're not here for an overlay. There was a proposal, Attorney Rinaldi and Attorney May were at a prior hearing, and they talked about an overlay district up in an ROS section. An ROS section is up on Route 6, up at the top of the mountain. This particular area is down, if you went down near, you all know where the giant market is, we're down in that particular area. Our manager is showing you on the map where that is. If you can all turn your attention to it, can you show everybody where the ROS is? You can find it.
It's the purple area, joins the Lackawanna River.
Use 2 fingers.
So currently, this is where the municipal building is. And this is the additional, as you can see, this industrial area through here. We have several industrial type businesses located on Enterprise. This would be the area behind the current giant market area.
And if you could, just if you could show where is the which we're not discussing this evening. Where's the ROS?
The ROS area is here. It's above Route 6, behind the C area, which is commercial.
Okay, so everybody understands we're down in the area of the giant market where our municipal building is, etc. That's our current M1 area. We're not creating a new zone or anything else. I understand, just so there is no confusion, we are not here on the overlay district that was brought up in discussion at a prior hearing up on the mountain. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Tina Larioni, Tinalarioni. We keep hearing about the benefits of data centers, yet no one has clearly stated that those benefits actually help the people who live near them. In fact, at the January 20th meeting, the expert admitted she would not want to live near one herself. That was the only question she could answer and the most honest answer we've heard. So I went home that night and I asked myself, at what cost do these so-called benefits come? Behind the invisible flow of data are massive industrial facilities supported by thousands of diesel backup generators. In Virginia alone, data centers have permits for over 9,600 diesel generators. These are not clean energy systems. Many are older Tier 2 diesel engines that emit fine particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, and hazardous air pollutants such as benzene, a known carcinogen linked to cancer. Diesel exhaust is classified by the World Health Organization as a Group 1 carcinogen. Long-term exposure is linked to lung cancer, heart disease, asthma, and other chronic illnesses. These emissions don't stay on site. They enter our air, our soil, and our water. We've seen this story before. A century ago, coal mines were sold as prosperity, jobs, stability, progress. But the cost came later, and the generation before us paid with their lungs. Black lung didn't appear overnight. It crept in after years of exposure, settled into bodies and communities. By the time the damage was undeniable, the industry had already taken what it needed, and the burden of illness fell on workers and towns left behind. Then came the Marjol battery plant in Troop. It reclaimed lead from car batteries. The plant caused lead contamination both on-site and throughout the surrounding community. For years, residents were told there was no health problem, even as black clouds drifted over homes and acid ate holes through laundry hanging on lines. Yet, even when lead contamination was found in nearby yards and streets, government environmental officials assured residents there was no health problem. Not trusting the official assessment, residents sought outside help. A third-party study later found that 1/3 of tested residents had elevated lead levels, many of them children. My husband's family were lifelong residents of Troop. My mother-in-law was one of 9 children. Today, only her and her twin brother remain. Both have battled cancer themselves. 6 died of cancer-related illnesses. That is not a coincidence. That is a death sentence from environmental exposure. And their story is not an isolated event. Lackawanna County has cancer incidence and mortality rates that are generally higher than the national average, often exceeding both state and US benchmarks. And don't even get me started on the landfill. God only knows what residents are being subjected to from Naples. They are trying to run a new sewer line across Lackawanna County to dump their leachate, which is the liquid that percolates through the garbage piles, into the Lackawanna River Basin Sewer Authority to be treated and then dumped into the Lackawanna River. Children are particularly susceptible to these institutions that I mentioned, not because the school is downwind from the landfill or that the baseball field is next to the battery park, but because environmental pollution can damage the growing nervous system, creating nerve disorders, learning disabilities, and ultimately cancer. And now we are being told once again to trust that this time will be different. Data centers are marketed as clean, quiet, and inevitable. Local concerns like air pollution, water use, noise, grid strain are minimized. Regulation is told to catch up later, but just like coal and lead and landfill contamination, the real harm doesn't show up immediately. The truth behind diesel generators on site and why they are a problem is that these machines leak a multitude of toxic chemicals like benzene and arsenic that cause chronic respiratory illnesses like asthma and life-threatening conditions like cancer. The data center industry claims that these generators are for emergency power, which is an issue if the area experiences a blackout, which we often do, but the industry leaves out the part where generators run for maintenance reasons up to 2.5 hours a day and 500 hours per year. So tonight, I am humbly asking council to consider passing a moratorium. It gives the community time to fully assess health and environmental risk before irreversible decisions are made. Once a data center is built, the emissions, water use, and noise impacts are permanent. You cannot undo them. Progress should not require sacrificing clean air, clean water, or our children's future and health. My kids love their school. They love the Biddy basketball program. They love seeing the sweet old man walk his dog in the neighborhood. They love this area. I don't want to move and leave Lackawanna County, but I will not stay if we knowingly repeat the same mistakes that cost past generations their lives. Economic development that harms public health is not progress. It's displacement of harm. And I urge this council to act responsibly. Pass a moratorium. Let decisions be guided by science, community input, and precaution, not haste and a get-rich-quick scheme. And I would ask the lawyers and experts to have a genuine, honest, heart-to-heart conversation with your clients. Say, yes, data centers can be built, but not here, not in Lackawanna County, where the zoning decisions will come at the expense of the health, safety, and peace of mind of thousands of families. These are real people, real lives, raising children and caring for loved ones. At some point, this becomes more than permits and profits. It becomes a moral choice, and I truly hope that choice is one you can live with. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Arianna. Before we go to the next speaker, just a comment.
Just by way of overview, I think our county commissioner, Commissioner Gaughan, hit the nail on the head. He has asked for state government to address the issue. One of the issues would be a moratorium. In the state of Pennsylvania, it doesn't allow a local community like this to have a moratorium, not to speak for a learned counsel for the developers, but if we were to pass a moratorium, they would be more than happy with that, because then they would say that we're exclusionary and they would proceed accordingly. So I do think the commissioner's correct that there's various aspects of law that need to go in, and that would have the support for study purposes. People have rights to their land, but this is a big use, so I do think he's correct in saying state law needs to be addressed, and the situation we're in now for each community is left to deal with. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Christopher Wade, CHRISTOPHER WADE. My wife Melanie and I moved to Dickson City
You can come closer to the mic, sir.
Sorry, I don't want.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
Thank you. Perfect. My wife Melanie and I moved to Dickson City 20 years ago to build a life together. She came from Exeter, I came from Carbondale. We are residents of Dickson City by choice. We could have moved anywhere, but we chose here. Growing up in Carbondale, I lived with the aftermath of the railroad and coal booms of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. That aftermath, after the industries had decided that this area was no longer valuable to them, was economic depression, mine fires that burned down part of town, mine subsidences that still happen to this day, polluted rivers and polluted land that we're just beginning to fix. Almost a century later, this valley is just beginning to recover from that disaster. I have to imagine the older generation shaking their heads at the idea that we're about to be so foolish as to even consider repeating the same mistake of giving away our valuable land and natural resources to outside companies who are coming in here to strip our resources in the name of profits that will be shipped out of our region. This community, like so many of our neighboring communities, has come together to stand up and say emphatically in one voice, no. These data centers will not bring permanent employment. We've been told that we do not have the resource infrastructure to support these. I'm not willing to live with water shortages and brownouts to ship profits to greedy individuals who are so arrogantly looking to exploit this area and its people. They don't care about us. They only want the things that we have that they want to take. These resources belong to this community. I beg you as your constituent, do not sell off our future in the face of empty promises. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's Celine Nash, CELINE-NASH. Those of you who were here in January, I'm sorry for how much I spoke. This one? Sorry. For those of you who were here in January, I'm sure I said a lot. My mom did not get a chance to speak, and I will be reading off her speech. Her name is Marlene Obst Nash, MARLENE-OBST-NASH. So please keep in mind this is from her viewpoint. My name is Marlene Obst Nash, and I'm a longtime resident who spent their childhood, the 1960s, staring at the burning coal dump in Troop from my back porch. My late mother prayed that the wind wouldn't shift on wash day so the clothes wouldn't stink from sulfur. My grandfathers were coal miners in the German Street mine, and I played around in the ash. I developed asthma, as did my siblings, as well as multiple autoimmune diseases, which is the reason she's not here today currently. She's not feeling well. Now we are faced with multiple data centers being proposed. Who will ultimately suffer? It's not the developers or the investors. Who will share in this? Those who share the history in Dickson City are aware of the personal harms brought to this valley from the coal mining industry. Who benefited then? The coal barons. The residents are the one who suffered. We can do better this time. I urge the council to think deeply about the residents living here every day. What is our quality of life? What will our quality of life be? I stand with the rest of the residents of Dickson City and the Mid-Valley area in saying that we deserve better. Thank you for your time, and thank all of you for showing up and bringing just your passion. I just want to thank all of you.
Thank you very much.
That's good. Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Lake. JEFFREYLAKE. I live in Clark Summit, and I am running for state senate here in the 22nd district. But tonight I am here as a resident who lives here, pays bills here, and is worried about where this is all headed. I am concerned about how many data centers are being pushed into our area all at once. In the last few weeks, I have been to 7 separate hearings for data centers happening just a few miles apart. That tells me this is moving too fast, and people are struggling to keep up with what is being proposed around them. A lot of folks are already stretched thin. I know I am. I cut my electricity use by about 15% compared to last year, and my bill still went up. I did exactly what we are told to do. Use less, be careful, watch every dollar. It did not matter. Costs still went up. People here are doing their part, turning things off, putting off purchases, trying to make it work. And now we are being asked to absorb projects that will use more power and more water than most of us can even imagine. If these data centers keep coming into northeastern Pennsylvania, our utility bills are only going one direction, up. We have already seen this play out. The natural gas power plant that was built in Jessup is the largest in the state and one of the largest in the country. We were told it would help lower electric bills. Instead, people are paying more than ever. Now we are being asked to accept facilities that run nonstop and pull massive amounts of electricity. This proposed data center is expected to use more power than the Jessup power plant just up the road can even produce. That kind of demand does not disappear. It gets passed down to everyone else. Water is just as big of a concern. We may live in different towns and boroughs, but most of us rely on the same water system. Lake Scranton supplies drinking water to approximately 60% of Lackawanna County. One of these proposed projects is expected to use the same amount of water the average family uses in a week, every single minute. That is more than 20% of the reservoir's extra capacity for just one data center project. These facilities do not shut off. They would use water day and night, all year long. Just over a year ago, we went through a drought. Another one will come. What happens then? It will be residents who are told to cut back first. As of now, there has been no clear public explanation about will serve letters from PA American Water or PPO, or about how much water and electricity this specific project plans to use each day. People are being asked to accept a lot of risk without straight answers. Just a couple of weeks ago, the Scranton Times reported that Jessup turned down the Breaker Street data center after strong public pushback. Across the political spectrum, too. That community spoke up, and their leaders listened. This board has the same power. Our current state senator co-sponsored Senate Bill 939, which would take away local control over AI data centers entirely. That would remove decisions like the one you will all make soon from communities and hand them off to corporations or the state. I am asking you to use your authority while you still have it and stand up for the people who live here. Working families are already carrying enough. We should not be asked to foot the bill for projects that strain our power, drain our water, and leave the public dealing with the consequences. And finally, in the council's introduction, the requirement to not exclude any uses in the borough was brought up. There are alternative options to this. For regional planning authorities like SAPA, the Scranton-Abington's Planning Authority. I believe the council should look into joining this joint venture and find ways to work around it. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Maija Niznick, Maijanizik. I have been a resident of Dickson City for a little over 10 years after relocating to the area. I am here tonight to express my opposition to the proposed data center being built in our town. I am opposed to the rephrasing of our borough ordinance to allow data centers to be built here. I am opposed to zoning amendments that would shift data centers into newly permitted areas. I strongly urge you not to grant special exceptions for these facilities. For too long, this area has been treated as a dumping ground where developers come to profit while residents suffer the long-term consequences of decisions that do not serve the community's best interest. From the coal mines to the railroads to manufacturing operations that offered little lasting benefit to the area. History shows a pattern. Developers come in, make their money, and leave, and our community is left to deal with the aftermath. Did you know that the noise from a data center can reportedly be heard up to 5 miles away? Can you imagine this entire valley humming day in and day out? With proposed data centers in Dickson City, Archibald, and surrounding areas, that noise could affect nearly the entire valley. I recently saw reports of up to 54 data center buildings proposed in this region. The potential noise impact alone raises serious concerns about quality of life and mental health. I personally suffer from migraines, and I worry about how constant industrial noise could affect my health and my family's well-being. No resident should feel forced to consider moving because of decisions made without fully weighing its consequences. There are also growing concerns in some communities about increased health issues that data centers cause. Whether through noise, environmental exposure, or other factors, these risks deserve serious independent review before approvals move forward. The environmental impact must be considered. The displacement of wildlife, destruction of vegetation, strain on water resources, and increased runoff are not small matters. Where will displaced wildlife go? Likely into our neighborhoods and areas where our children play. What about water? We have a premier high-quality trout stream. How will construction and runoff from mountaintop development affect them, or even by the giant as well? We have already seen what happens when infrastructure is not built properly. Commerce Boulevard became a lake for a period of time, and the culvert by Dundas Street was not constructed to proper specifications, devastating families with flooding. Removing trees, our natural barriers, will change how rain and snow melt flow into the valley. Where will the water go? Who will bear the cost? Our electrical grid is another concern. Data centers require enormous amounts of power. Will utility costs rise for residents at a time when a dollar does not stretch as far as it once did? Of course it will. Will we face more frequent power outages to strain on the grid? So I ask, whose best interest are the data centers truly serving? I support revitalizing Dickson City. I support making it stronger and more beautiful, but a data center is not the solution. While construction may provide temporary union jobs, these facilities bring very few permanent jobs to the community once operational. That is not sustainable economic development. Again, I ask, who benefits? The developer, investors, the board members, or the residents of Dickson City? As board members, you are public servants. You work for the residents of Dickson City. We elect you, and we vote accordingly. Please do not allow Dickson City to continue to be used as a place where developers profit while our community bears the burden. I respectfully oppose the rezoning and the ordinance changes that will allow data centers in Dickson City. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Robert Holzman, Robertholzman. First of all, thanks for letting me speak. I grew up here and moved away for a long time, but I've been back in the area for about a year. And first of all, I just want to say I'm not against data centers in general. My company uses Amazon Web Servers in Virginia, and let's face it, I like making cat memes as much as the next guy, I suppose. But I am opposed to a data center being 200 feet away from someone's house. And a few of the things that I just wanted to briefly speak about here are that Personally, in my opinion, I feel like some of the proposals that have been drafted in the paper that was put together in regards to these data centers, the accessory uses of the drafted proposal, I feel like are dangerously broad. I feel like there's an unreasonableness and overbreadth of Municipal Planning Code 605. The ordinance language includes specifically electrical substations, water towers, pump stations, wastewater treatment facilities, fuel storage, power storage, compressor stations, guardhouses, logistical buildings, utility infrastructure, and energy facilities. I think that these data center uses under PA zoning law essentially are incidental and subordinate. And specifically what that means is that the standalone infrastructures that I just mentioned could potentially be significantly larger than the data center itself. So that's something that I feel is very important to zoning regulations, rezoning of an area to put a data center, and what the original intent of those municipal parcels in Dickson City were. I think a court could find that this functionally converts the M1 or other sites into what's known as an unregulated utility district. There's no limits also set on rezoning without bounds. So currently, in my opinion, there's no limits on megawatts, generator count, generator run hours, cooling load, water withdrawal volumes, battery storage size, and fuel storage size. The ordinance regulates appearance, but not impacts. Pennsylvania courts are typically skeptical about zoning that that is regulated this way. One last point I wanted to mention was I think there's a large over-reliance on future approvals. There's a lot of deferment. Things that I read in the document that was provided by the city say that DEP will handle the water issues later. Zoning officers will decide later. Fire department will coordinate later. Stormwater compliance will happen later. Special exchanges can waive setbacks and coverage. I feel like that under Pennsylvania law as well, a municipality cannot put municipal planning code obligations to future actions. I strongly feel that these are things that truly should be addressed prior to zoning for this and should be heavily considered while zoning for this. One other caveat to this, one other addition to this, is that when I grew up in this area when I was a kid, they used to have these really big mine flushing machines that came by, and they used to drill into the ground and they used to pump water out. And one of the proposals that I've seen tossed around in the newspapers is that if there's not adequate water supply for the data center, that one option could be that they could just pump mine water out and use that as a coolant. Well, when that happened in the 1970s, I realize there's a lot of people in this audience that are definitely older than me, not necessarily much, but you can remember that there were streets collapsed and people's backyards had all kinds of crazy stuff happen. So I think by putting zoning out and saying, well, yeah, this is kind of we can probably do this to some extent and figure this stuff out later, I feel like that this is really important now and not later, that this shouldn't be left to future obligations. And, additionally, I just feel like it is very important. A lot of people in this audience are clearly speaking. Obviously everyone in the township is free to make whatever vote they want to, but moving forward, all these people in the community will always remember this vote, so they can remember it one way or the other. If everyone listens to the community, they'll remember that too. Thanks for letting me speak. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Madeleine, Madeleine, Prestogeorge. Am I close enough to the mic? No. Okay. Is that better? Yes. Hi, my name is Maddie. I've lived in Dickson City for 4 years. I've also worked 7 years in NEPA communities, helping people increase their quality of life with safe, affordable housing. The facilities proposed around Pennsylvania and in Dickson City are massive operations to power the internet. They are built for tech giants like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. They require industrial scale infrastructure, and I don't think that they are going to be built for us. Other speakers tonight have talked a lot about the history of coal mining in this region. We have acid mine drainage, mine fires, contaminated water, and coal waste. Data center facilities will use millions of gallons of water daily. They'll also strain our electrical grid. Our community will pay for the infrastructure upgrades through higher utility bills. Meanwhile, billion-dollar companies will get richer. I have nothing in common with a billion-dollar company, and I'm wondering if you guys do too. Data centers promise jobs. We will get a small amount of specialized positions. They promise economic growth. We will get industrial noise, increased truck traffic, and pollution. Tech companies will leave when their equipment is obsolete or when they find a cheaper location. We will be left with giant empty buildings. These data centers also power big tech's surveillance infrastructures like mass data collection, facial recognition, and AI systems trained to scrape our data. I do not want our community's water and power to subsidize that. I'm ready to buy a house for the first time soon in Dickson City. I love it here. Do you think I should buy a house here if we have data centers? No. If data centers are built, some people who have the means will leave, and people who don't have the means will be left to suffer the consequences. So please protect our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jim Wetherill, Wetherrill. I have lived in Pennsylvania my whole life and was a state employee with the PA Fish and Boat Commission for over 30 years. I am also a veteran, having served with the United States Coast Guard for over 4 years. My concerns are centered on artificial intelligence and the data center's explosion to build as many of these as quickly as possible. The companies building these centers have billions of dollars and bottomless pockets to develop and build them as quickly as possible. My main concern is, would I rather have a data center or clean water and adequate supply of energy to live my life? Having worked as a manager at a state fish hatchery in Carlisle, Pennsylvania region, Huntsdale State Fish Hatchery, which I managed for 10 years, I know firsthand about water usage and its importance. While there, I oversaw the installation of a water filtration plant to filter the water we use to raise the fish and discharge back out to the Yellow Breeches Creek, which is a world-renowned trout fishery down there. We tested weekly, and the water quality coming into the facility needed to be discharged from our hatchery with as little to no impact to its quality. Many parameters were measured during the weekly water testing to ensure we met the requirements spelled out in our permit. I would like to see similar permits issued to all data centers with their water usage and energy usage monitored, and if they violate any of these parameters, fines and restrictions of water usage need to be enforced. That's what they did to us. If I exceeded the permit at all, we got less water that we could use, which means we couldn't raise fish. In my 10 years, that never happened. Since these companies have billions of dollars, the need to restrict their water and/or energy usage is imperative to stop any future violations. Water is the lifeblood of our existence and needs to be the #1 concern for any resident of Pennsylvania or any person anywhere, for without it, you cannot survive. Furthermore, global water usage is under extreme strain, with 25 countries housing a quarter of the world's population are using over 80% of the renewable supply. Key drivers include industrial growth, agriculture, and rising AI data center cooling demands, which threatens to leave 1 billion more people in high-stress areas by 2050. Primary factors driving water strain, AI and data centers. Rapid expansion of these data centers, which require vast amounts of water for cooling, is placing immense strain on local resources, with estimates suggesting they consume hundreds of billions of gallons annually. Restricting their use is of the utmost importance. If allowing them is going to happen, then let us make sure it is done with minimal impact to begin with. We cannot allow these to be built and then realize later, after the fact, that they should have only allowed them at incremental start. Also, as time moves forward with technology advances, we can use less water by recycling water more efficiently, cooling the water better, which would require less water to cool the data centers. Also, the need, most likely, will lessen over time. If plants are to build, then have them built at a much smaller scale to begin with. The amount of land that they are planning with is for a great many buildings. For example, the proposed Wildcat Ridge AI Data Center campus in Archbold, Pennsylvania is massive, $2.1 billion project covering 400 acres, featuring 14 three-story buildings totaling approximately 17.2 million square feet. This project aims to rezone former residential land to industrial use to support high-powered AI infrastructures. This needs to be reduced from 14 billion to only a fraction of that amount, with the buildings to only use with the ability to expand over time after its impact has been evaluated for a minimum of 3 to 5 years. I know a lot of people here said moratoriums would be great to have too, and I agree with that 100%. I think that technology is going to be progressing. So like he said, with the space and doing it up there, in 2 years, by the time these things are done, I went to the meeting yesterday, and the person that's building the one over there near the Highlands, he's from Texas. He said he has 2, and they're moving dirt on those 2 in Dallas and Chicago. Are we Dallas or Chicago? We're a small community here, a tight-knit community here. So, and then the one council member asked him, what's the impact of these? And he didn't have an answer because these things aren't even up and running for that company. So they don't even know. You don't even know what the impacts of these are going to be. Let's put a pause on it and find out what the impacts can be down the road, 3 to 5 years. That's why I love the moratorium suggestion. And whether or not you guys can use that, I'd love to see us pause. See if I can get back where I was. So with the one plant having over 400 acres to build on it has plenty of space to expand over time. Please do not allow these artificial intelligence centers to potentially negatively affect our water resource, which are minimal to begin with. We have the Lackawanna River and groundwater well water as limited resources available. They're talking about using Lake Scranton too. How many of these are proposed? This is just one of how many. Water for drinking, water for household use, wells potentially drying up or having their water quality degraded, fishing, boating, ski resort use. Think tourism for Pennsylvania. We cannot allow these plants to be built and potentially negatively impact our lives. Please ensure that this does not happen. In conclusion, the number one resource we have and need to protect is water. Without it, we cannot survive and thrive. We cannot allow this resource to be compromised in any way. It is essential we maintain a clean and ample supply of water to the people of northeastern Pennsylvania. Also, it is imperative to note that in 2020, the Lackawanna River was named and honored as the River of the Year. and is currently designated as a National Heritage Area along with DCNR's recognition of its transformation from a polluted industrial waterway into a thriving, cleaner river. We cannot allow the past to repeat itself. Our past coal mining industry scarred the landscape, polluted the water, and negatively impacted the health and well-being of so many people in this area, which continues to this day with subsidences, sinkholes still occurring. I attended last night's meeting, and one thing that became abundantly clear is that we need to stop the endless proliferation of these data campuses. The water, they said they're limiting them to 90 feet tall. 90 feet tall, that's 9 stories. That's probably taller than this building right here. And they're gonna they said, the person said he's gonna max out. To max out, they needed 18 buildings. He said, well, we're probably not going to use 18 buildings. We're probably going to use 16. Well, that's like 90% usage. I was like, yeah, that's really scaling it back. And one thing that became abundantly clear is to stop the endless proliferation. The water resources that we have here are for us as a community, first and foremost. And should not be misappropriated for these data centers. Just this one campus alone is slated to use over 3 million gallons of water daily. And when will the water usage be at the greatest for these AI plants? During the summer, when people need it for drinking, bathing, farming, recreation, and cooling their bodies, homes, and businesses. Allowing AI data centers to expand at such an accelerated rate is not something we should allow today, tomorrow, or in the future. Water is our one most valuable resource, and we need to protect it, to do everything in our power to protect it, and not allow it to revert back to an industrial discharge waterway. Thank you.
Hello, do you hear me? My name is Dranash. It's Leandranash, and I'm a current resident of Dickson City. I'd like to thank the council for their time today. I spoke at the last council meeting, and I mentioned the numerous health concerns being raised across the country in regards to the pollution caused by AI data centers. I mentioned specifically the city of Broadman, Oregon, where childhood cancers and miscarriages have increased by 20%, and where 50% of every adult over 60 has developed chronic kidney and/or thyroid issues ever since their data center was built in 2021. Since the last meeting in January, even more public health officials across the country have been trying to raise the alarm about the need for proper research and testing. And as of today, there are only a small handful of politicians who seem to care more about the American people than the checks they receive from data center developers and investors. But what I want to bring up today is to look at the main argument presented by supporters of data centers. Their main claim is that the US is in a technology race with China. Investors and developers are pushing the idea that we risk falling behind other world powers if we do not build as many data centers as possible, as quickly as possible. Now, if we're just going to talk about straight numbers, the US already has everyone beat. There are 4,165 operating data centers currently operating in the US. Now, if it was a close race, maybe they would have an argument. But second place for data centers goes to the UK, which only has 499 operating data centers. Germany is in third with 487, and China is in fourth place with 381. On top of all of that, the race that they claim we are running is a race that no one else is even participating in. China does not have any plans to even come close to our number of data centers, because beyond the just straight numbers of buildings, they already won in terms of the actual technology and the infrastructure to create and maintain it. Instead of obliterating their wilderness, China has focused on upgrading their entire national power grid. and has been modernizing and upgrading their existing data centers. And it's not just China either. Almost every single other country that wants to have high-grade AI data centers are simply updating their current internet server complexes. The bottom line is that we do not need any more data centers. We especially don't need one here in our community. The reason why investors and developers in the US are attempting to shove data centers into every corner of small-town America is for the sole purpose of trying to make as much money as possible, as quickly as possible, before abandoning the communities they are draining. Our community stands to lose more than it could ever gain. Forests do not exist just to be cut down. Our land does not exist just to be filled with warehouses that will inevitably become obsolete. Data centers are parasites on the communities around them, and we deserve better. I oppose any data centers in Dickson City, the county, and the country. If the council would like any of the sources that I used to research this speech, I would be more than happy to email them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll have one more, and then we'll have to do some procedural things. Ms. Brown.
Good evening again, everyone. Wendy Jones, W-E-N-D-Y, J-O-N-E-S. I'm a fourth-generation resident of Dickson City. I want to thank everyone here for caring enough about your community to attend this meeting tonight. The fact is that the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania mandates boroughs, townships, cities to provide a place in their zoning for any type of land usage. Hence, that's why our area is so attractive to the developers. However, the state constitution also provides a remedy to the borough, townships, and cities in the form of local governments through their zoning boards, planning commission, and council members. It is their duty to protect the safety and welfare of their residents. This meeting tonight is to discuss the proposed ordinance to contain any data center proposals to the manufacturing industrial zone in the borough. At this point, I want to remind you all that there have been no submissions to the Planning Commission for data centers for this proposed zone. Excuse me. If council does not adopt this proposed ordinance to allow data centers in the M1 zone, Dickson City is going to find themselves in a similar position as our neighbor Archibald. Let me remind you that Archibald did not adopt the initial ordinance to limit data centers, and in the interim, they now have 7 proposals. The 7 cases to defend themselves against if they go to court. The proposed ordinance in M1 zone encompasses about 14 acres. The proposal that was received for the commercial ROS zones last meeting from the developers who attended is a total of over 400 acres. The proposed ordinance before council tonight is similar to an insurance policy, like auto or life. You all buy it and you hope that you don't need it. However, if something does occur, you have some remedy for damages. Finally, the proposed ordinance can always be amended going forward. If there are new developments with data centers, that can always be considered by council and added to the original ordinance. So let's tell the developers of the proposed data centers who don't live in Dickson City what they are allowed to do and not allowed to do in our borough by adopting this proposed ordinance. Thank you for listening.
Are there other people that are going to speak? Okay, well that's fine. Just procedurally, what we're going to do is we're going to recess this public hearing to a time certain. It's going to be in this room. We've advertised the meeting for 7 o'clock. As we're approaching 7 o'clock, we'll recess this particular hearing probably for 60 seconds, maybe 120 seconds, and we will open our 7 o'clock advertised meeting and then postpone that. If we have a lot of speakers here, we can, with the time certain, would that be 8:30 or? And we'll do it at 8 o'clock, and if we need additional time, we will gladly do that. So everybody understands what we're doing, and I appreciate the last speaker. What we're here for, we're not here for data centers. We're not here for those types of uses or approving one. What we're saying is we think this is a manufacturing, it uses generators, et cetera, and we have put certain criteria in place. I do understand what the last speaker said, is Archibald had a similar experience. The council listened to them and said, don't adopt that, take a step back, don't put it in this zone with these criteria. Then I don't know if it was 7, but it's a large number, so then they came in. And anybody that comes in, and we do have some now that persons have put in, then they won't be bound by this, and they won't be in the M1, where that other fellow was. They might be going up there. I don't need to speak for them. There's other doctrines of law that would be in support of if this were to be adopted, and maybe it won't be, but it would support the community. It's called the pending ordinance doctrine. You won't have that. So to those that I appreciate the sentiments. I don't know if everybody understood what she was saying, but so I know we're hearing about water usage, all those, and maybe they, everything can be approved upon, maybe with amendments, et cetera. But I also understand what she's saying. The significance of whether it's adopted tonight or not, and what happens to the people who live here. With that, if we can have a motion to just recess this meeting until the recess of our subsequent public meeting.
Yeah.
So we need a motion to recess our public hearing. Anyone?
I'll make the motion, Mr. President.
Motion by Mr. Hall, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Sims. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, this public hearing is recessed. And we'll be back in just 1 minute and we'll start our meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what we need.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Dickson City Borough Council special meeting of February 12th, 2026. If everyone please stand at this time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, we're going to need a motion to appoint the borough manager as our secretary for this evening. Can I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make the motion.
Sorry, we have to do a roll call. I'll do that. Ms. Kanye.
Here.
Mr. Chesry.
Here.
Mr. Horvath.
Here.
Ms. Sims.
Here.
Mr. Brzezinski. Here. Mr. Hall. Here. Mr. Kovaleski is here. Do we at this time have a motion to appoint the borough manager as secretary for this evening?
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Hall. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Horvath. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so thank you, Mr. Perconi, for doing our secretarial duties this evening. At this time, we're going to make a motion to recess the special meeting to 8 o'clock so we go back to our public hearing. Could I have a motion, please?
Make motion.
Mr. Brzezinski makes the motion to recess this special meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Sims. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Motion carries. We will be going back to our public hearing.
If we can, I think that took us about the 1 minute. If anybody needs just to stretch their legs, I would say we have opened our public hearing, but we'll say give us 5 minutes and we'll start taking the testimony. I understand some people need a restroom break, so that's fine. They don't want to miss any testimony. Yes.
okay, that we had recessed from before. We'll continue with our next speaker, please. Come on up to the podium. Please state your name and spell it for us. Thank you so much.
My name is Arianna Collins, Arianna Collins. I grew up in Oliphant. I went to Mid-Valley until 7th grade. I got married, had children, and moved to Dickson City, more recently to McLean Street on Bell Mountain. Some of you may have sung in the choir when I got married at St. Mary's Church. Some of you were my teachers and coaches, our first responders, people in positions of authority that we're supposed to be able to look up to and trust and rely on when we need help. And this is us asking for help. If we were your students, you might have at one point asked us what our plan for the future might look like. Maybe advised us to make a plan. You may have encouraged us, told us that there was a life after high school that we need to be prepared for. We were encouraged to look at options that best suited us for college, maybe go on campus visits, and look at curriculum that would align with what we wanted to do in life. If I said I wanted to be a nurse, and a college told me, we might have a course for that, but we aren't sure, we'll tell you after you agree to enroll here. That wouldn't make much sense. But now these developers are asking us to make this decision with I don't knows, and we can't tell you the plans until after you approve the land, after it's too late to take it back. These developers haven't answered any questions whatsoever. They can't tell us what resources nor how much of those resources are going to be used and how this will affect our monthly bills. They can't tell us how many jobs this will bring to the area. They can't even tell us how tall the buildings will be. When we ask these questions, we're met with incredulous looks. This will ruin our residential areas and bring down property value for families that have been putting all of their blood, sweat, and tears into making their houses homes for decades. Our homes. Yet we're supposed to be okay with the data center 200 feet away from our property lines. To put that in perspective, it is just a little more than the width of a football field. Mr. Kovaleski, in a statement on the school website, you addressed the parents of your students. You yourself said that the mission of the school district is to educate, inspire, and empower your students by teaching, challenging, and encouraging your students to become responsible citizens. Here we are in this room. Some of us are your former students, colleagues, maybe even family and friends. We're here being the responsible citizens you strive to encourage your students to be, and we are here opposing the data centers. We are asking you to do the same.
And being responsible and coming out and speaking the way you feel. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me all right? Yes. Cool. My name is Gerard Sosnowski. That's GerardSosnowski. I am a longtime resident of Dickson City. I've lived here all my life, almost. Here we go. I'm a longtime resident of Dickson City. I've lived here for almost 32 years now, my entire life. I have very fond memories of this city, whether it's building forts in the snow piles left by the snowplows or riding bikes with my friends through the streets of the city. Every time we would step outside, it was always a new adventure for all of us. And now I am here, once again, raising my family and hoping my child can have the same. What is proposed with these data centers seems not worth the risk to me. None of the developers can at all tell us how much land they're going to take, how much energy, water, any of the resources needed for these centers. I looked at Dickson City's history. How many times has our community been taken advantage of by industrial means? Whether that was the coal mines, the battery factory, or now, in my opinion, the rock quarry up by Wegmans. Because in the summertime, you can't go to McDonald's and order a Happy Meal for your kid at the drive-thru without getting a mouthful of dust. And you cannot go into the Dickson City Hyundai service department and get your oil changed without feeling the kick of a blast from the rock quarry. And now we want to put another industrial site. Yeah, that seems like a good idea to me. Obviously, I'm kidding. But I ask the council, take into consideration the future of our community, our health, our safety, and our financial well-being. Recently, many AI companies, some of the biggest in the world, OpenAI and Google, have said that AI, if the development cannot catch up to what they are planning, the whole thing's going to bust. OpenAI announced that in 2027, unless they can turn a profit, they will be out of money. Are we willing to risk the future of our community for maybes? Frankly, I am not. My family has lived here for generations. My grandfather worked in the coal mines, and my father served in the Dickson City Fire Department and even worked his way up to the rank of chief. He served his community, and now I'm doing the same by standing here and saying no to the data centers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to speak. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Thank you very much.
My name is Carter Szescila, Cartersescili, and I'm 10 years old. I am here speaking up for my county and my city. I'm worried about how loud data centers can be because I am worried about how it can affect learning and teaching, especially for the kids with special needs that do not like loud noises. This will not only affect those kids that I go to school with, but it will also affect other kids and families. There's a kid that goes to my school. He has special needs. In an assembly, he was going to get a standing Spartan. He does not like loud noises, and we had to clap in sign language. I think it will affect the kids with special needs more than anyone. That's it. Thank you.
That is one of our young ones there in the school. Very, very well done. Thank you so much. Great job.
That's going to be hard to follow. I'm one proud mama. Good job.
You should be.
My name is Helayna Szescila, HelaynaSzescila, and I'm a resident of Dickson City. This amendment before you tonight is not routine zoning language. It would amend the M1 district to permit data centers as a special exception and establish the standards that will govern whether those facilities of that scale operate in our borough. Once that language is written into this zoning code, it becomes part of the long-term framework that guides future decisions. This is not a small change. According to a recent census, approximately 14.7% of Dickson City residents live below the federal poverty line. Roughly 1 in 7 of our neighbors. This is higher than the Pennsylvania state average of 12%. 1 in 7, not 1 in 7 corporations, 1 in 7 households. It's the seniors stretching a fixed income. It's the parent choosing which bill gets paid first. It's the family, one unexpected expense away from a crisis. And poverty statistics only tell part of that story. Many families live above that line, not counted, but still financially fragile. The Mid-Valley School District participates in the federal community eligibility provision, providing universal free meals because of documented economic need. That reflects widespread hardship across our student population. That is the community you are governing right now. When a borough already carries higher than average poverty, amendments that expand high intensity industrial uses require extraordinary care. Even as a special exception, permitting a use of this scale signals that it is appropriate within our zoning framework. It creates an entitlement pathway that future applicants may rely on. Many of my fellow residents spoke tonight about valid and important concerns, but no matter how well written those standards are, the long-term effects, persistent noise, potential air and health concerns, rising household costs, and the uncertainty that comes with large-scale industrial change are borne by the residents who live here. We are the ones who hear it, we are the ones who pay for it, and we are the ones who live with it. Under the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, zoning amendments must promote public health, safety, and welfare. That obligation includes considering the economic realities of the people who will absorb those consequences. Good governance means aligning land use decisions with the lived conditions of the community. In a borough where 1 in 7 households already lives in poverty, prudence is not resistance to development, it's responsibility. So tonight, I'm asking you to move carefully, to pause, to ensure transparency, independent analysis, and clear protections before expanding special exceptions uses in M1 district. Because no matter how this is framed, we as the residents carry the long-term weight. And in a community already working hard, we can't afford added pressure, financial, environmental, or otherwise, respectfully.
Am I coming through? I think I'm good. My name is Joseph Faltynowicz, Joseph. Ready for the last name? Faltynowicz. Thank you to the speakers tonight. You've all done a great job. I just have a couple of points I would like to make to sort of underpin a lot of the points that have already been brought up. First, I have to start by prefacing with a clearer picture of what's going on with the AI bubble. So NVIDIA is investing all of this money into OpenAI so that OpenAI will use NVIDIA's chips. So NVIDIA really needs OpenAI to make money so that they make money off OpenAI using their chips. OpenAI also has another deal with Oracle to use their cloud storage. OpenAI made a $300 billion commitment that they need to start making good on by 2028, and they need to pay back $60 billion a year for 5 years until 2033. Now, I don't know if anybody noticed, but it's 2026. OpenAI is still not yet profitable. So I don't know how many people here are investors. I'm not an investor, but does that sound like a bubble to any of you guys? Certainly sounds like a pretty big bubble to me. And when that bubble bursts, we're looking at the fallout similar to the dot-com bubble with the environmental impact of the coal mining industry leaving and with a bunch of massive empty warehouses left behind, similar to and they will trade hands over and over and over again once this bubble bursts and the companies are gone. And none of the plans will come to fruition, similar to what's going on with malls all across America right now. So the reason I bring that up is because I don't understand what Dickson City stands to gain from any of this. I really don't. And now that I've painted you a clear picture of the bubble, let me just be clear that I'm talking about the right area. We're talking about putting a data center in here? No? Where? M1, just down here? Oh, even so small. Small is the point. So here's the thing. If Dickson City is looking to gain jobs, does anybody realize how many jobs data centers create? Massive data centers still only require a few dozen people on the ground to actually make the data center run. So if we're going to put in an even smaller data center, we'll get what? Maybe 20 jobs out of it? Whoop-de-friggin' do. What's that going to do for us? Are we looking to get taxes from it? If these companies go under, we're not going to be making taxes off of it. And especially if something similar like what's happening with malls all across America happens with that building, it's going to be trading hands over and over and over again. I don't understand what we stand to gain from this. Furthermore, the regional transmission organization responsible for the power grid in not only Pennsylvania, but 11 other states in the Northeast, PJM, they're talking about doing rolling blackouts throughout 12 states around us, including us. So this impacts not only Dickson City, not only Lackawanna County. These rolling blackouts and everything else are going to impact an entire region of the United States. Do we want to contribute to that problem by giving these people a foothold in Dickson City and therefore Lackawanna County? If you give an inch, they will take the mile. And the bubble is going to burst. And as others have mentioned before me, we're going to be left with the fallout, just like what happened with mining. What do we stand to gain? There's nothing to be gained. This is absolutely insane. Thanks for the time. And very sorry, one of my former teachers from Holy Cross is on the council. She's probably very disappointed in my speaking skills. I didn't plan to speak tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, council. My name is Melissa Howerton. It's MELISSAHOWERTON. And I'm a resident of Dickson City. I wanted to focus on something very specific tonight, whether council feels it has enough information to make these permanent zoning decisions involving an industrial scale use. We've heard references to potential municipal water use, surface withdrawals, possible discharge, and even ideas about using mine water. Yet we have also heard that there are no finalized land development plans. That means that these zoning decisions are being considered without confirmed information on water withdrawal volumes, discharge locations and treatment, electric and gas infrastructure upgrades, long-term cost impacts to residents, cumulative impacts if multiple facilities are constructed in the area. In addition, we do not have independent noise modeling for 24-hour mechanical cooling systems and backup generators within our area, within our town. It was mentioned earlier this evening that noise level requirements were going to be included in the ordinance. And I can't help but ask, what if these developers fail to abide? Will we fine them? I think that they will look at that as the cost of doing business, and we will be stuck with the noise, regardless of what's in our ordinance. And that is a great concern. Also, we do not have an analysis of how sound travels from various terrains into and around the valley with the residential areas that are in close proximity. Evaluation of light pollution from 24-hour operations, stormwater impact studies accounting for mountain and various topography and runoff patterns, and Dickson City's geography matters, as others have mentioned this evening with other issues that we've seen in recent history. Development on varied terrain can amplify sound travel and alter runoff patterns. These are not theoretical concerns. They're engineering considerations that should be evaluated before zoning changes are enacted. Zoning is permanent. Infrastructure follows. Once the ordinance is adopted, the borough's leverage to revisit these issues is significantly reduced. I do understand, and you're stealing my thunder here, that generally Pennsylvania courts have not supported towns and municipalities enacting broad unilateral moratoriums on development. However, I want to highlight a moratorium is not a ban. We're not seeking its use for exclusionary zoning. It's a pause for due diligence. Based on PA Municipalities Planning Code precedents, justifications must show it prevents severe public harm or overburdening of public facilities and is not just a tool to stop growth. Municipalities looking to pause development must carefully draft ordinances that comply with the NPC and are supported by findings of necessity. For example, to prevent serious imminent threat to public health or to address a shortage of public facilities. For the reasons mentioned above, I respectfully request that Council reconsider and adopt a temporary moratorium on data center zoning amendments and application approvals for a defined period that will allow independent infrastructure and environmental analysis, public disclosure of utility and water studies, professional noise modeling and topographical impact review, and most importantly, public town hall style meetings where independent experts can present information in an accessible way so residents can fully understand the long-term implications before permanent legislative action is taken. The burden should not be on residents to uncover impacts after zoning is changed. The burden should be on the borough to fully understand and disclose the consequences before permanent legislation action is taken. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie Rodriguez. I don't have a speech planned, but I'm very proud of that kid that just came up and spoke. I was that kid. I'm not originally from Dickson City. I'm here because I married the man of my dreams and I fell in love with this area. We went through the same thing where I was from, Otisville, New York. It's the middle of nowhere, very little people. But we fought a corporation that was trying to put these massive power lines through our town, and we won. They didn't put them in our town. And those power lines were going to cause so many of my brother's friends to lose their homes, and they weren't going to offer anything for their houses, the lowest possible thing that they can get. I was like 12 years old when I was going with my mom to these meetings and fighting these massive corporations. Now, we won because we had a lot of strong people stand up for us, and we made noise. Noise is important, but not the noise that these data centers are gonna make. Now, I have a chronic illness. I have fibromyalgia. I'm already always in pain and irritable. I live like right down the street from where that data center is gonna be. I work from home. I'm a collector. I already get frustrated as it is. Do you think I'll be able to focus on my job when I hear buzzing all day? No. And my husband and I have 2 properties. We're very lucky, and we have great tenants. I don't want our tenants to have to deal with this noise either. It's ridiculous. And I just out of being a fitness enthusiast, there's other ways we can use this land. Like, we walk our Boston Terrier behind Giant, like when it's spring, when it's summer, we walk him all the time. I think that dog's more muscular than I am. And can't we do something healthy? Can't we do something that will actually improve our health? Yeah, walking paths are great. Why? And AI, they're always saying AI is great. Yeah, AI is great because there's some AI that can do surgeries better than doctors, right? That's great and everything. But these kids are so iPad addicted that you can't even have a conversation with them anymore. So I don't know if anything I'm saying is making sense, but I'm worried about the health implications. I am worried about my tenants being happy in their apartments. And I'm just speaking to everyone. If you make enough noise, they're going to listen. And they did not put those power lines down our small town of Otisville, New York, probably 20 years ago. I really hope our politicians listen to us. And if they don't, then guess what? We'll just have to out-elect them the next time. But Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'll stop talking. And have a nice night, everyone. And please, I don't approve of these to go through our beautiful and awesome area that I'm new to. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the comment.
Hi, my name is John Trapani. That was just my wife. So I did bring her to the area, and like she said, we do have investment properties. Oh, sure, it's Trapani, Trapani. And I'm from here. Was from Dickson City, right here on Albert Street. I grew up 910 Albert, and this is 935. And you know, I grew up here. I want to stay here. I have a legacy of being in the Boy Scouts, 322, 21. Got my Eagle Scout in 87 up in Mayfield. Joined the Army National Guard. I'm in the reserves now. I decided to buy a property here. And what legacy does Dickson City want to leave? We still have a giant coal dump here that's been here, 60 years? And there's a promise last year to get that moved, to put it in Blakely. What's happening with that? Hopefully it's gone in the next 30 years since I've been here. But legacy, what do we have here? I mean, I wanted to speak at the last meeting. We had the poster on the wall from celebrating 150 years. It said something like, great past, better today, and a promising tomorrow. If we pass these data centers here, are we going to have a better tomorrow? I mean, I don't really know the zoning laws here other than it's going to be like behind the Giant Market and Rebels or Burgers in that area down there. So good to limit it, and probably we should limit it. But again, take your time, think about it, and just hopefully we have a good future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bart, B-A-R-T, Secco, S-E-C-C-O. I'm a local businessman, and I'm not a speaker by any means. But my business and in my whole life encompasses on minerals and things that are ripped out of the earth. And with these data centers, everybody ever give it a thought, what happens when things go bad? We all live in an area of lithium. Computers, they need backup. They're all lithium, right? What happens when it catches on fire? It's really hard to put out. It burns really freaking hot. So you got a building that's 900 by 900 by 90 feet tall, powered by a huge amount of batteries. It lights on fire. We already know to build this thing, we have to upgrade our fire department. And when this thing burns so hot, we also live on top of the most mineral-rich area of the Northeast. What happens when that coal bed catches on fire underneath all that lithium that's going? In the event things do go bad, you burn from Carbondale to Nanticoke. That's the vein underneath us. It goes 500 feet deep. Tell me how you're going to plan to put that out before you make a decision. I'll leave you with that. See ya.
Thank you very much.
My name is Amy Mancuso, A-M-Y-M-A-N-C-U-S-O. They have a plan. They have a plan either way. My question is, what is the borough's plan either way? I don't know if you can speak to that. I know you said. That's my question, is just what's the plan either way? Because they're not paying people to sit here to listen to this without a plan. So they have a plan A and they have a plan B. We're talking about the rezoning in this area. So just curious if we can speak to what's, as a borough, what's our plan A and what's our plan B. And if we can't, that's okay.
I think tonight what's appropriate is, and I do appreciate everyone's comments. I learned a lot. I listened to some very intelligent comments. I appreciate it with Ms. Jones that stated that we're providing for a use, that there has to be a where. We believe it's a manufacturing facility. I imagine from what prior comments were, The developer does not necessarily share that. They have at prior times pursue their rights. Doesn't behoove me to tell anybody what our positions may or may not be to protect the health and safety of the community. So I wouldn't say that in public forum. But I do appreciate her comments that say what we're here for is the where they're at. This council is not looking at a particular use. They don't have a plan. There is a plan, though. The individuals that are here have a plan where they put in for up on Route 6. And I imagine we'll hear more about that as it unwinds. They've also opined that they do not want to go to the M1. I appreciate what Mr. Shepstone said and some of the other people that that's the appropriate zone. It's manufacturing. It may not be the 400 acres that's under their plan, but it provides for something. So what we're trying to do is provide some standards for the manufacturing zone that allows for manufacturing, whether that's using heavy diesel generators and doing whatever else they're doing in a manufacturing aspect and put some performance standard on it. That's what they're doing. I don't know of anybody that I heard of on all three of these that say they're for the consumption. They understand everybody's property rights, so they respect that. There are property owners that do think that use of water is appropriate and something else. That's not in front of council. I know most of you appreciate that. And once again, I applauded that one speaker who was here, who actually spearheaded getting this in front of our planning commission and moving it forward. And for those of you that are astute enough to understand her comments, which sometimes she speaks even above my level, I applaud her for bringing that in a timely fashion to council and to the planning commission. And that's why we're here. It's the where. Let's assume those fellows sitting in the front row are right. They say the where is somewhere other than the M1. So this council is looking at the M1 as being the where for. There is no plan B. They will file in an appropriate form, whether that's an administrative agency, the zoning board, or the court of common pleas. They may disagree if there was an affirmative vote tonight. If there's a negative vote, I think they'd be just as pleased with that. So, in the most cryptic way that I've ever spoken in my whole life, I hope that you appreciate that. But I'm here for the respect of everybody's property rights, and council is too. And, I like all the comments.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So just to kind of summarize that, we're trying to win the battle, not the war tonight.
I didn't say that.
Okay. Thank you.
I said I'm here to respect everybody's property rights, our planners and our council.
Appreciate it.
My name is Terri Hinton, Terrihinton. I'm a resident of Dickson City. We've been here for 21 years. My husband and I raised our family here. We love this borough. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about the concerns of our residents with respect to AI data centers. Can't hear me? Close. Is that better? Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And also thank you for removing the ROS overlay ordinance from this meeting tonight. I think that was a very positive move and good for our area. The questions our residents have are valid, and they're thoughtful, and they're incredibly important. We're asking for transparent and detailed answers, for supporting documentation, and for honesty.
so that all of us as a community can make well-informed and knowing decisions that will shape our borough for years to come. And make no mistake, the critical decision being made tonight on whether to change the zoning ordinance to provide for the specific use of AI data centers will affect our residents, our businesses, our environment, and our health in many ways. You've heard this many times tonight from other speakers, so a lot of this is going to be repetition, but it's a good repetition. These are not decisions to be made lightly or rapidly. They require careful consideration with all of the facts, both good and bad, presented. And I think those details are what's missing. It appears to me that this is the new California gold rush, and the AI industry plan is to hustle zoning changes through small municipalities as quickly as possible before anyone understands the full picture or impact. And once the zoning's changed, without question, the data center companies are on the 10-yard line. They've won, and we will be nearly powerless to stop what will be certain creep. The realities of data centers are stark. The amount of water and energy they require is staggering, and we have no specific information on how data center needs will affect our residents' needs. CNBC reported today that electricity costs are rising at double the rate of inflation, and at least 40% of demand growth is attributable to a single use, AI data centers. From all appearances, the risks associated with AI data centers and resource depletion fall squarely and solely on us. I'll say that again. Our community bears the entire risk associated with data centers. If a power outage occurs due to stress on the grid caused by data centers will simply fire up their generators. Our residents, they're left without power. During the hottest times of the year, when the water levels are down, when wells are low, the data center's need for water will not lessen. They'll demand that their needs will be met. And where will those needs be met? Will that be through a contractual obligation that won't be available to the public? Who knows? What is clear, though, is that the water shortages will be borne by our residents, by humans, not by the machines that can never turn off. These issues are real and they're scary to us. We can live without hundreds of thousands of square feet of data centers in our 4.8 square mile borough. But we can't live without sufficient water and power and clean water. I question the logic to rolling out the red carpet to a single industry whose demand for energy and water so far exceeds any sense of reasonableness or fairness. The concerns we have relative to natural resources are not theoretical. Their effects are well documented and reported across the country: Georgia, Arizona, Maryland, Virginia, the Great Lakes, just to name a few. And they're all currently living water shortage nightmares brought upon by data centers' disproportionate and unrelenting demands. Let us learn from these examples and heed their lessons. The final consideration I'll make is the negative effects, I'll mention, the negative effects this requested use will have on our property values. If these campuses are approved, the neighboring residential home values will decrease. That, again, is not speculative. The fall in home values has already been realized around the country where these campuses have been feverishly built. It's another example of how one single industry has a disproportionate effect on the surrounding areas. To ignore the certain effects of data center freight train bearing down on us is suicide. We must stand firm until we have detailed answers to our questions. We must protect our natural resources from being depleted by a single out-of-control industry, and we need your thoughtful decisions to help us help ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments at this time? Anyone else who would like to make a comment? Ma'am, you would like to make a comment, please come to the podium.
I can't make it to the podium.
We can't hear you.
My name is Roberta.
Will you take the mic to her? Thank you.
Is that just, okay.
Got it.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
My name is Roberta Corey. Roberta I'm from Archbold, and I just want to make a request. I appreciate all the comments that were made here tonight. Every speaker was excellent, and I hope the council will listen to their concerns. I don't know if all of you follow Facebook. If you do, you can see what's happening in Archbold. Parks are now being in progress. Trees are being torn down. The one junkyard, all the cars have been cleared away. They're getting ready to move. And we have other companies that are knocking at the door with proposals for other sites. They said if all those proposals go through, it would be like having 152 football fields in Archbold alone. That's taking up a lot of acreage, and we don't want that to happen to our town. We hold meetings at the Valley View High School. There was one last night, which some of the speakers mentioned they were there. I'm making just one request. If you can please come to the meetings at the Valley View High School and support the Archbold community, as I'm sure we support you too. None of us want this.
Anyone else? Okay, if not, then we got a motion to adjourn the public hearing, please.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Brzezinski, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hall. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, public hearing is adjourned, and we'll be back in approximately 6 minutes for our regular meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, sir.
All right, again, good evening, everyone. So we're back from the recessed time of 7 o'clock. At this time, we have in front of us the agenda for this evening, and we have any questions on any of the agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience? Any questions on any of the agenda items? Okay, there being none. Attorney Jones, did you want to go over what we're voting on here this evening?
Sure. Well, what we're dealing with is the data centers. It's a little verbose, but I'd like to read section 5.1012. The term data center, building or buildings which are occupied primarily by computers and/or telecommunications and related equipment, where digital information is processed, transferred and/or stored primarily to or from off-site locations. This use does not include computers or telecommunications related to equipment that is secondary and customarily incidental to and otherwise permitted use on the property, such as servers associated with an office building. The use shall include cryptocurrency mining, blockchains, transaction processing, server farms. A data center may include data center accessory uses. The term data center accessory uses generally include but are not limited to utilities, utility lines, electrical substations, transformers, emergency and backup generators, including but not limited to diesel and natural gas powered emergency or backup generators, switch gears, electrical fields, mechanical fields, pump stations, water towers, heating and cooling equipment, mechanical equipment, and environmental controls, air conditioning, chilling, cooling towers, fire suppression, battery and power storage facilities and equipment, redundant and backup power supplies, storage facilities for water, natural gas, propane, including pumps, compressors, and related facilities and equipment, operations which directly support data center uses, water, wastewater treatment and processing, facilities, redundant data, communications and connections, guardhouses and security facilities, parking, support offices, storage, logistic buildings when located on the same tract or assemblage of adjacent parcels developed as a unified development for data centers, data center accessory uses shall comply with all applicable provisions of the Dickson City zoning ordinance. Additionally, it says under 5.1013, data centers shall only be permitted as a special exception in the light M1 zoning district, subject to the same height, setback, and parking landscaping requirement as otherwise permitted uses in said districts, except where the requirements are adjusted in section 5.1000 of the Dickson City zoning ordinance. We also have in section 5.1014 location considerations, in section 5.1015 standards. We have in section 5.1017 parking requirements for all data centers. We also have a subsection 2 with an amended table, and the table is attached to the back. We have the location of the ordinance itself. We have it here tonight. It's one of the exhibits that was given to the stenographer, part of the record, and it's also on file at the Borough Secretary's office at 901 Enterprise Street, Dickson City, Pennsylvania. And we also have a severability clause. This particular document has been furnished, as I did at the beginning of this meeting, to the Scranton Times Tribune, to the Lackawanna County Solicitor's offices, and the law librarian. The cover letter is dated December 10th of last year for the transmission of that particular document. It was also tendered to the Lackawanna County Planning Commission, as well as to the Dickson City Borough Planning Commission on December 10th of last year. We have the comments. The notice, as previously identified, was published pursuant to the municipality's planning code, and that's part of the record, posted in both the Borough Building, the Dickson City Civic Center, and the M1 area itself, our Facebook, and once again with compliance with the open meeting law. It was posted, and it's there for everyone to see now. Both the notice of this the prior hearing and this meeting, together with the agenda for this particular meeting itself. And the agenda is also part of that, not only on there, but a big part of the record. What this particular ordinance deals with is voting on more clarity that this is a manufacturing use, that it's in the M1 area. We've identified that down near the river. It does not approve any particular plan. There is no plan in the M1 area for a data center. This is not intended to approve anything like that. Now, if it were to even pass on a vote, it means someone would have to make that application. Then they would have to go in front of the zoning hearing board, which is a different board than this board, and the rules of evidence, and it's a hearing with the stenographer, and they go forward with that. There are other avenues also under the MPC, but that's where it is. This is more of the where we're providing for it. We've heard public comment on it, and once again, I appreciate that the county commissioner has sat here all night. We applauded for that. He's saying we need some revisions to the state law, and we do. And we don't have powers we are required to provide for particular uses under an exclusionary doctrine, or fair share doctrine. We have to do that. There are other doctrines that are into play. Those of you who have attended other hearings about other applications that may or may not be pending in front of the municipality. What we're here for tonight is on this particular ordinance that we've gone to 3 public hearings on, and that's where we're at for the legislative body. This becomes legislation, and it's not an adjudication or an approval of an AI center. Anything else?
Thank you, Attorney Jones. There may be some questions from some of the council members before taking the vote. Anyone have any questions or comments before taking the vote?
Attorney Jones, I just want to clarify. When we do take this vote, we are voting solely on the ordinance for the M1 zone, correct?
Correct. We're not voting on approving a data center. There is not, to my knowledge, and I would have knowledge, there is not an application in the M1 area at this time from the zoning officer. As it was filed at 10 to 4 today, but he still would call me. So, yeah, we're just here on this particular piece of legislation.
Anybody else? Any questions, comments before we vote?
I just have
Mr. Horvat.
Again, bringing the same question up. The vote tonight is simply to verify that the data center could be put into M1's area. Okay, but there is no proposal as of right now to build one there.
Correct. This is just to clarify that the Borough Council believes that this is a manufacturing use. It has attributes of a manufacturing use, high energy. It appears that this is to be correct, and you'll know it that they do use a lot of energy. We've gone to other hearings, how much energy. That is somewhat at variance. It uses a lot of water in its processing. It's creating, obviously, information that they heard a lot of testimony tonight that their product may be artificial intelligence. That could be correct. I don't know that, but it appears they're manufacturing something there. But that being said, we don't have an application for this, and I appreciate Mr. Shepstone's position that data centers are built on parcels of land of all varying sizes. And it's his opinion that this is appropriate size. I appreciate the comments of landowners, and I respect their rights to disagree with Mr. Shepstone, and they said that they don't believe that they have enough area there, or maybe it can generate a profit. But that's why there's other bodies that may or may not deal with this issue. It might be a zoning board or town police.
Two clarifying questions, Mr. Jones. First off, the question on moratoriums, if you could just go over that again. And the second one would be that we have to have a zone, please.
Once again, we're not allowed to pause. There is a mechanism under 10609.2 where you can have curative amendments. All I'm doing is educating against your interest here, but I don't mind doing my job. I imagine they'll be taking notes there. But there is a curative amendment process that they may or may not, they don't like if this were passed, to do it. I'm not going to go much further down that because that doesn't serve my client's interest, which is dealing with this piece of legislation. What was your second question? Yeah, on a moratorium, we've had this, I believe we started with the Planning Commission last year. It was advertised, I believe, and I apologize for not having the exact date, sometime in November. We did have, I appreciate your position, Attorney May. He believes he has applications that predate our application, and he has whatever rights he has to put them up on Route 6. I don't disagree with people not agreeing with me. I disagree with that point of law, but we respect each other's positions. So I know a lot of you have heard about pending ordinance doctrine and what's said here and what isn't said here, but we're into it 3.5 months, which is an appropriate time to take it. Do know that I've read case law that says we don't have the authority for moratorium. I do respect your position that if there are a lot of not high water usage or dispositive things, that maybe there's some new precedent that can be made. But now's the time that you get elected to these positions to take respect for everybody's spot. Whether people vote yes or no tonight, maybe they feel data centers are appropriate. Maybe they think this zone is appropriate. That's for each and every council person to take. This one was drafted by our planner, who says this is a manufacturing use, and we're just adding clarity that may be at odds with other property owners' position. But this was the only place where it was allowed, and now we have it, and we have some performance standards.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Jones. So just a quick comment. Mr. Hall, do you have a question, or did you want to comment as well?
I'd like to comment.
Okay, do you want to comment, and then I'll...
First off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight. Last couple of months have been certainly hard, and I just want to speak. We hear a lot about ordinance numbers and so on and so forth, but I just want to let everybody know that this council, we live here, so anything that is affecting here, and it's unfortunate we're on two sides of tables because we all are on the same side. We live here. My family's been here a long time, multi-generational. Certainly some of my colleagues have children who live in Dickson City. This council, this mayor, there's been a lot of heart-wrenching conversations, and it's about the residents. I look around this room tonight, I see people I know a long time. I have family in this room here tonight, and the decisions we're making are about our families. We don't live outside of the area. We live here. So again, anything that affects all of us. It's not two sides of the table, and that's all I can say. It's challenging. I don't talk to my colleagues. It's gut wrenching. It's not easy being here. And you know, to Mr. Jones's point, and Mr. Shepstone, we are bound by a law, and we are looking out for the best of this community. And so I just ask everybody to please understand that it's challenging. It is. And you know, we run for office not for the money, not for the glory. We care about our town. So I just hope everybody understands what we're doing with the process and the time that goes into it. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming out because it's important. We're all in it together. It's not two sides. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you. I also would like to make a comment before we go ahead. You know, a couple weeks ago, I received an email from a Boy Scout, somebody who was going to get their Boy Scout badge, and asking questions, just like Mr. Szescila over here, you know, making comments in regard to data centers and want to know more about it. And my comment back to that Boy Scout was, first off, learn more about it. Learn everything you can. That was the whole process for all of us over the past 3 months as we came out to these meetings, just as you did, to hear from each one of you and everything that you had to bring. It's a good teaching moment. As a former teacher and administrator, that's what we're here to do. We're here to educate. Okay, we're here to be educated. And we're being educated just as much as you are on the process. I'm not going to say that I'm a zoning expert, but what I'm going to tell you is that over the course of the last 2 months, I've learned more about zoning than I've ever known. I've been on council since 2011. I would never have been able to tell you anything about zoning up until this issue. That was the one area that I felt that I was deficient in, that I would have taken classes, going to the Boroughs Association to learn. But I could feel that as of today, sitting here as one of you, because I'm elected by you, I live in the same area as Mr. Hall just said, we all live here in the same community, that being able to learn and then being able to make what I feel tonight when I make this decision is what I feel is the best decision for this community. You may not agree. Some of my own family may not agree. Some of my own friends may not agree. But I know when I go home tonight that decision that I made, I know I made it the best decision for this community. And I just wanted everybody to know that I put my heart and soul into this, and we're going to take a vote if nobody else has any comment or questions from council. At this time, can I have a motion To adopt ordinance 1, 2026 pertaining to the development of data centers. I'll make the motion. Remember, this is for the M1 zone. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor by myself, seconded by Mr. Hall. Anyone on the question? Roll call vote, please.
Kanye?
Yes.
Mr. Cesare?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Ms. Sims?
Yes.
Mr. Prushinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
And Mr. Kovaleski?
Yes. Motion carries. Ordinance adopted. At this time, are there any comments from any of the council members? Okay. At this time, are there any comments from anyone in the audience?
Council member.
Council member. Mr. Brzezinski, sorry.
I'm just thinking here, this is my 17th year in here, and it's getting tougher by the year. It's supposed to get easy when we get older. We do things right, we hope we do things right, and every year, 4 years mayor, and this is my 17th year in council, I have to say I'm not sorry I ever did get in, because this is not a shouty group there. Sometimes we sit for hours thinking, what are we doing here? When we contact the people we have to. I gotta say, I'm proud to be in this Dickson City Council, 17 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brzezinski. Mr. Mayor, would you like to make a comment?
Yes, I would. I would like to thank Ms. Jones and the Planning Commission for the work they did, Mr. Shepstone and his group. And I'd like to thank council members for bringing to the vote and having the public so much involved. And just to the public real quick, I know we talked more moratoriums. I saw a lot of passion for that here. So this is all happening at the state level, and it goes all the way up to the national level. So take that passion, take it to your state legislators, take it to the leaders of the national leadership. And I can speak for my mayor's office, I'll be there to back up on it, and I'm sure council too would back up on it. So I can't speak for them, but I'm speaking for myself, but take that passion. And if that's a possibility, take it up the ladder and take it to them. And thank you. Thank you for everyone attending tonight.
Anyone from public would like to comment? Come on up to the podium, please. Thank you. Again, Matt, please state your name, spell it for the stenographer.
Suzanne Morgan, SUZANNEMORGAN. So I just have one clarity I want to make or ask you about the ordinance. And everybody spoke about the coal barons. I think of these as data barons. The difference between the coal barons is the coal is the commodity. In this case, we're the commodity. Everything we do, we buy, where we go, they make money off our lives, and they determine if we live. So the one thing we can control is maybe our home. So my question to you is, the ordinance was passed. I understand that this is a designated area where data centers could go. So the question is if you receive a proposal, at that time, will the council thoroughly vet, will the developers have to come with height, water usage? They have more definitive answers than the vague answers that we were given at the last meeting?
Yes, they would have to go for a special exception in front of the zoning hearing board where all of those topics would be dealt into. Yes.
Okay, so it's not a blanket approval, they have to give hard facts, and that has to be reviewed at that time.
Yes, and then that board adjudicates it, and they say yes or no, or put conditions on it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Another comment?
I apologize. I know the limit was one session at the podium. I just wanted to explain to everybody, if there is a proposal for a data center and there's a hearing,
You all get to come back and say what you've told us tonight. You get to be heard again. And that's part of the beauty of this. You still get to be heard again. And council will hear you.
And again.
And again.
And again. And we appreciate that they would come out to have themselves heard. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Anyone else? All right, if there being no other comment, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Hall, seconded by Mr. Horvath. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.